What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Bleacher Report. I am your host, TD from TD Fans Talk, home of the real Miami Dolphin fans. Hit that fire button on your way in the building. We got a lot to discuss. We got some information from OTAs that have been taking place. Also, the Miami Dolphins are stuck with difficult decisions, and they're going to have to make them. And we're going to talk about that and more. That involves Jonnu Smith, Zach Zeeler, and potentially even Tyreek Hill if we go down that rabbit hole of blowing it all up. We'll talk about that and so much more. But let your friends and family members know about the Bleacher Report app. Make sure that they download the app so they can get the latest in Miami Dolphins breaking news. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to get right into it because we typically don't have time on these, but I want to get into OTAs, what we've been hearing from some of the beat writers and columnists that have actually been attending practice. I've been speaking with them, having conversations about what's been going on in practice. And there's some things that, are shockingly surprising in a good way. And there's some things to be concerned about. I want to knock out the concerns first because let's get the negative Nancy-ness out the way. First and foremost, I got a name for you all, and that's Cam Smith. Now, I do know it's OTAs, but, based off of what I've been hearing, well, first of all, this is the year that Cam Smith is going to be given every opportunity to do something special for the Miami Dolphins. Okay, he's going to be given every shot that the team has to give him to be a starter, be an impact player, make a name for himself, because we don't have anything at the position, especially with Ramsey about to get shipped off. Which we want to talk about that in a moment as well. But Cam Smith, man, we need you to step up and take the bull by the horns and be the guy. High draft pick, the team invested a lot in him, and we need returns on the investment. But early on here in camp, things aren't looking good. Based off of what I'm hearing, there aren't many highlights or things to say, oh man, Cam Smith looking nice. No, he's getting beat a lot. And it's kind of frustrating because you want these young guys to turn the corner, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And I'm not going to write Cam Smith off. He has an opportunity to do something this offseason. Hopefully it translates to where they can trust him in the regular season. And one way or another, he's going to have to be the guy. But is that going to be a good thing or a bad thing for the overall team? We don't know. Time always tells, but early reports out of camp, it's just not looking good. And what do the Dolphins do if they determine in training camp, this isn't good for us. We need a starter at this position. We can't just knowingly go into the year with the backup. What do? They've been looking for help at the corner position. They still haven't been able to make a deal. They've been looking at trade options, looking at free agent options, still haven't been able to make a deal. And a lot of players, I got to be honest, a couple of years ago, so a lot of people believe that Miami was the destination. A lot of big name free agents and trades and things. Tyreek's over there, Armstead's over there, Ramsey. They already got some nice pieces. Miami's the premier destination. Jonnu comes. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think a lot of free agents see the writing on the wall. And, when you hear reports from Javon Holland when he signed with the Giants, he was so excited. He couldn't wait to get away from Miami. Then you hear reports of, Calais Campbell excited about going to his old team where he first started instead of coming back to Miami, which we loved him. Supposedly he loved us. It was a perfect situation. He enjoyed it, but it wasn't enough for him to say, I'm coming back. And I don't think it was going to be a pay cut. I don't think Miami's the destination anymore. And then when you have players openly trying to get out, like Tyreek at first, now things have smoothed over. And then Ramsey obviously wants out. I don't think players want to come to Miami. And that's tough when you have a whole bunch of young guys who aren't living up to expectation. And then before the season comes, you want to fill the roster and try to get better players if these guys don't work out. But the pool may not be there. That's a concern. Difficult situations for the Miami Dolphins. How will they navigate this offseason, given the fact that they have several players that they may have to move? And listen, ladies and gentlemen, I truly do believe, okay, I'm not in that front office. I wish I was a fly on the wall, but I truly do believe that the Miami Dolphins front office, and I'm talking about the higher ups, have instructed Chris Grier that he has maxed out his credit card and that we do not want to take on any more long-term contracts or extensions unless a player is under 26, 27 years old. In a part of the future, we do not want to extend, restructure too many, or take on any new money for the future. We need our books clear for the future as best as we can, because we don't even know if the general manager nor the head coach is going to be in the future. I truly do believe that they have gotten that. They've gotten those directions. And if that being the case, it's even worse than we could imagine, because, again, it leaves difficult situations. Because if that's the case, what do you think Zach Zeeler's going to do when he says, I want more guarantees? I need you to restructure me and give me more money. And they've been given a directive that they're not allowed to. What do we do with that? They got to get something done, right? But what if that's the directive? They could very well be under that directive that you have to do with what you already have, and anybody who doesn't like it or doesn't like their contract, hey, you got to live with it, convince them to play or trade them. Like, we're all out here talking about, Jonnu Smith being on the block and Ramsey, but we don't know. Zeeler could be on the block. Because I'm sure Zeeler's agent wants him to be paid respectably. Zeeler has played just as well as Christian Wilkins over the last 4 years, ladies and gentlemen. And if you don't believe me, go check it out. A low-key underrated thing that nobody ever talks about. Zach Zeeler has played just as well as Christian Wilkins has when you look at the 4-year span in its totality. Or 5, I got to look at it. And with that being said, Zeeler knows that this is my payday right here. This might be my actual last chance to really cash in on my payday. And the Dolphins, I believe, for Zeeler, you would think they would honor that. Or what if they got a directive that they're not even allowed to? And if that being the case, will Zeeler play on his current deal, or will he say, hey, man, I need my money or I'm not showing up? My value will never be as high as it is right now. Will he show up and play on it, or will they give him the money because there's no directive? But I think there is. And I agree with Justin in the comment section. Zeeler took a team-friendly deal on his last contract. And he's getting older. He got to cash in right now. This is his future. This is his life. This is that last big bag, potential big bag. You got to give him more guarantees or an extension, Or if I'm the agent, you can't let him go out there and play. And they've already brought in a defensive tackle for the future, which means you're the expendable one when they get the next one. So he has to get his money. But the question is, or should I say, the difficult decision, do you cough up the money? Or are you under a directive where you can't, which makes an even more difficult decision? Do you stall him out to see if he's bluffing or not playing? Or do you start looking at a trade partner? That's the reality. The Miami Dolphins got some difficult decisions to make. And that's just Zach Zealer. I mean, Jonnu's in the same boat. He got to get paid. I mean, tight ends that's done what he did last year or anything, they're making at a minimum $8 million. I know Jonnu's agents like, man, we might can go to a team and get 10. We're making 4 right now. You're 30. This is our last chance to get you a bag so that you feel good about life after football. We have to maximize the possibilities here. So what do you do? I know Miami probably is like, man, we got an approval to at least give you 6. But again, like Jonnu has to be smart here. I mean, unless he wants to take the L and go with the lower amount. But anybody in their right mind, you got to go try to get your 8 or something because you know the agents out there shopping. The Dolphins have shopped. So the agents out there asking if we were to if Jonnu was to come here and we were able to get you a good trade where you barely had to give up anything, how much would you pay? And there's general managers, man, I'd come up off of this amount for Jonnu. You got to have 2 or 3 GMs out there saying, yeah, I might come up off of 8, 9. But I'm not trying to give up significant draft capital. And the agent don't care about the draft capital. He's just trying to hear how much would you pay? Now it's my job. If I get a number that I love and the Dolphins don't want to be there, it's my job to figure out this trade. Have my guy stall out. Have him sitting out. And if they don't pay, he don't play. Or trade him. And it's preferably to this team, that team, or that team because they're willing to give him the money. And y'all work out the details. You say you want a 5th, but I'm sorry, they don't want to give less than a 6. Y'all negotiate that. And end up forcing Miami to cave. That's what could be going on right now. Because another thing, ladies and gentlemen, we're not talking about Tua, we're not talking about Tua. We're not talking about Tyreek again. We're not talking about Ramsey. We're not talking about these guys that when you change the money up, we're talking tens of millions of dollars that you're adding in guarantees and bonus. No, we're talking about a Jonnu going from 4 to 8. I mean, 5 to 8 or whatever. We're talking about a Zealer, getting bumped up 30% or something like that. We're not talking massive money. And this is why it leads me to believe there's a directive. You're not allowed to use the credit card this year. I need to get my balance down to 0, my utilization, so that the next general manager or coach, if y'all don't work out this year with what you got, because what you have this year is all you're doing. It's all of your doing. And I'm telling you, I think it's Brandon Shore. I don't know who it is, but I think it's Brandon Shore. And I think it's simply, he's telling them it's all you're doing. You could have had plenty of money right now, but you decided you wanted us to extend to it. You went to Ross and convince him to do it. You got to live with the consequence. Because if we wouldn't have extended to and we would have made him play on the 5th-year option, we would have not have given him $53 million a year after the season he had getting hurt again. And even if we wanted to go down that road one time, we might have franchise tagged him, but not giving him a long term. And what would that have done? Gave us a lot more flexibility to continue to do some of the things that you're asking us to do now that we're not going to do. You're the one that, and then on top of that, you're the one that had us give Tyreek more guaranteed. It's all tied in together. You had us adjust Ramsey, all of these players. You had us do all these adjustments, and it didn't pan out. Can't keep going down this path. You got one more year, and I'm not giving you nothing to contribute to it. Go in free agency, you can spend this amount of money, and it need to be on 1 and 2 year deals and only 1 year guaranteed worth of money. And that's exactly what the Dolphins have done. Whole bunch of 1 and 2 year contracts in free agency, and none of them have more than 1 year of guarantees. In the current players and the new players, almost every contract on this roster, with the exception of maybe a handful of players, are no guarantees after this year. That is the Miami Dolphins telling this entire regime, that is the upper front office telling this entire regime, listen, this is the year you have to shock us, and we're not giving you anything else to do it. You got to make it work. And if you don't, we're going to make sure whoever we bring in after this are not sitting here and needing to recover for 2 years from the previous mess. We want them to come in with a clean slate, and that's what we're going to do. Unless you just shock us this year and give us hope to go down a new path with you, which is probably going to require 12 plus wins and a playoff win, we're done if we can't get that. This is exactly what I believe is happening in Miami right now. You got a tough decision on Zealer, especially if you got a directive to not pay. You got a tough decision on Jonnu. And then you still got to trade Ramsey. But that makes you say to yourself, if you were to trade those 3 players, you really just blew it all up. And at that rate, there's only 1 player, 2 players technically, that would be left that won't be here next year, but you would still have them on the roster, and that would be Chubb and Tyreek, in which at that point, you probably play with them for the beginning of the season, but by the deadline, they're probably gone. Unless they're openly tanking, which means they would ship everybody off in the summer. Miami Dolphins stuck with difficult decisions. Some of the good things that we've heard out of OTAs, there was a Channing Tindall sighting on one play. You know, he broke through the line and met the running back in the backfield. He's another one. Cam Smith may not be as bright, but Channing Tindall, we need him to show up and show out this year and be something that we feel like we can move forward with in the future. Another guy. We don't know if he's going to, but you know, at least you hear, at least you see a plays. Like, I don't know what to think of it, but when you really look at it, man, Chris Greer, I got to be honest with you, we failed a lot because of our draft picks over the last 5-6 years. A lot of our failures stem from bad draft success, the lack of draft success. And I'm not talking about your occasional first rounder. I mean, you should hit in the first round. You know, everybody's almost hitting in the first round to a degree. I mean, it's a lot of busts. But at the same token, I don't count first round picks as and I do know that some GMs pick bust, First round picks cannot help you as a general manager unless you reach for somebody and they became an all pro, a pro bowler. First round picks can only hurt you as a GM if it wasn't the right pick. What gives you, I guess, good status as a general manager is what are you finding in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round? In the second, third, and fourth round, are you finding any gym starters out of that? In the fifth, sixth, seventh, are you finding any real good, reliable depth that could be a low-end starter? That's how you determine a general manager in my eyes. That's how you determine their level of success. And we haven't had enough successes in the later rounds. And here's another sad piece to it. Even if you're supposed to count the first rounders, the bad part about the Miami Dolphins is that is that even our early picks that we should hit on, we can't even retain them after their rookie contract. Let me go a step further. Like, there's only three players we've retained after their rookie contract, but I want to put some context to this, right? Take Austin Jackson as one. Has Austin Jackson's career been a first round overall type career? Top 20 pick in a draft? He's obviously a starter because you're gonna start, you're gonna start the guy that you spend the first rounder on. But has Austin Jackson been a first round talent in the NFL? I'll let y'all decide that. Here's another one. Jalen Waddle. Now, I'm the one that's been defending Jalen Waddle lately, saying that he's a number one. It's debatable, and I get that. I'm trying to be optimistic more than pessimistic. But Jalen Waddle, has he lived up to being a number 6 pick overall? And has he lived up to getting the extension of a first round 6th overall pick? And you traded up for him. For all these people who say Waddle's a number 2, he's not a number 1. He's a number 2 on teams. He's not really a number 1 receiver. Just that we can argue that means the answer is no. Good talent, but first overall pick for the team, 6th overall. If you feel like he's a number 2, then yeah, he didn't live up to it. Because when you have a first round pick in the top 10, that guy got to be a number 1. As a matter of fact, he got to be a really good number 1. Like one of the dominant guys in the league. And last but not least, Tua Tagovailoa. Quarterback's a little different. Quarterback is a little different. I think Tua is almost living up to his draft capital because quarterback is different. It's definitely different. But I don't know. And that's my point of all of this, though. Even when we draft and we retain, these guys aren't even playing at the level that you would expect their draft capital where we selected them to be playing. Shout out to AB. AB said, how you going to be a number one receiver with Hill on the team? So are you saying that Waddle was a number one receiver before Hill came? Is that what you're saying? Let me say this too. A number one receiver going to be a number one receiver regardless of who on the team. Regardless. You can't tell me Tyreek put up all those numbers and Waddle put up 1,500 in the same year, which is number one-esque. So that doesn't really equate as much to me, even though I'll be arguing, oh, well, Tyreek. But you gonna be that guy if you're that guy. My opinion, at least. Don't make me right, but it's my opinion. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Miami Dolphins are stuck with difficult decisions, and they got to make them within the next 2 months. What decisions will they make? I don't know. Well, they got 3 months technically. But what decisions will they make? I don't know, but we're going to be here for it. So make sure that you tune in every week, 6 p.m. right here on Bleacher Report. And we'll discuss the latest, all the breaking news, all the updates going on with the Miami Dolphins, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. As I always say, fins up no matter what. Again, emphasis on no matter what. Whether we're up, whether we're down, whether we smile, whether we frown, it's fins up no matter what. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Make sure that you download the Bleacher Report app. At least let your friends and family members know about it. And check us out every Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. We'll see you soon. Peace. I'm out. Shout out to those on YouTube watching right now. I see y'all been in the chat for a while. We had Fair Trade 4x2 said Hill and Tua is still a top 5 duo when healthy. I totally disagree with when healthy notion. All you got to do is go look at last year when he was healthy. What were the numbers? They're no longer a top duo. What were the numbers? What he averaged 60 yards a game? Come on, man. Top duos out here putting up 80 plus a game together. Waddle wide receiver 1 for Buffalo, Baltimore, and Kansas City. I'd agree with that. Well, now it'll be their wide receiver 1, but does that mean he's a wide receiver 1? For instance, does the Buffalo Bills have a wide receiver 1? But whoever's the main guy is their wide receiver 1. So I get what you're saying, but does that still make him a wide receiver 1? That's the question. That's the question. Yeah, it has to be asked. All right. All right. So thank y'all, man. I'm about to get up out of here. We got the AFC East roundtable that's going to be kicking off real soon. So y'all come over and check that out. Again, thank y'all for tuning in. I'll see y'all this evening on AFC East roundtable right after this. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Fins up no matter what. Peace. I'm out.